So we've talked about a lot of these great things that are happening at CanadiEM and these amazing accomplishments that everyone in this call has really contributed to making happen. And I think it's really great to be able to celebrate these accomplishments, but it's also good to look forward to the future to see what could be lying in store for us as well. And so here are some ideas that we identified during the leadership retreat. So some things would include like expanding the development as well as networking opportunities for our junior members. So one idea that's been floated around is the QI team potentially creating a 6-month mini fellowship for people to learn more about the QI process. As identified before, this is an area within foam that I think is fairly underrepresented. We've talked about expanding our partnerships with large organizations. So we already partner with things like the AHA and Heart and Stroke, but could we also partner with, say, the Royal College and have CME credit for some of the content that we have available? Those are some potential opportunities as well. There's a big push to try to see if we could find a way of partnering in residency programs as well as training programs such as medical schools to try to get people on board at an early stage, as well as getting them to use some of the content that we're already producing to help augment their medical education, as well as getting them to contribute to the creation of content. And then a few other ideas that we had. One of them was about taking some of our content and making it much more curricular in terms of putting it into a textbook format. As Teresa pointed out to me a few days ago, that every few years there's always a push on Twitter to get a Canadian Rosens out there. So could CanadiEM have some sort of role in helping to coordinate something like that? That's an idea that obviously would take a lot of work, but potentially could have a lot of reward as well. And then another idea was having a conference for CanadiEM for different groups to kind of talk about the work they've been doing over the past year, as well as to just share ideas and give feedback on various things that have been going on. Obviously, these ideas are created by the leadership team, but it's not just the leadership team that's making all the decisions. Like if you're a junior editor, you're on this call, or you're watching this on YouTube later, and you think, oh, I have this great idea that I would like to see CanadiEM go to, like, please bring those up as well. All of you guys are such important team members, and your ideas really do matter, and we definitely will work with you to try to make them a reality, assuming they're practical and we see the upside in it as well. So feel free to bring those ideas towards us as well. So the last thing I wanted to say, just to conclude this portion of the retreat, is that, through this past hour, we've been able to highlight some of the incredible things that are happening at CanadiEM. But I think we've hopefully also identified that there's a big roadmap ahead for CanadiEM. There's a big future, and there's lots of room for improvement and expansion of the website. So I think at the end of the day, the community of CanadiEM is only as good as the people who want to contribute to it. So if you're a junior editor or junior trainee and you're listening to this call and you feel that you're someone who's self-motivated and someone who has passion, who's really passionate about our project, like we definitely have room for you. Like at CanadiEM, I think one of our organizational philosophies is not to pigeonhole people into small roles, but to allow them the space to grow and really take the bull by the horns and kind of take your dreams and make them into reality. So I think we're good at helping people, support people through that, provide them the mentorship that's needed, and provide a platform that allows you to take these things and make them tangible. So if you're someone who's listening to this and that really resonates with you, please reach out to us. If you look across our leadership team, there's nothing inherently different about us that made us have these leadership positions. It's only the fact that we were self-motivated and had a passion and wanted to make those ideas happen. And I think on the other side of the table, if you're someone who's more of a senior leadership role in CanadiEM, I think first of all, thank you so much for your hard work and your leadership and your guidance throughout all this time. And so much of the success of CanadiEM can be attributed to the leadership and the amazing people that we have at CanadiEM. I think one of the things that we came up in the retreat was like, how do we retain senior members to stay within CanadiEM and not to move on to other projects, given all the competing interests that we have? And I think for me, when I think about my involvement with CanadiEM, so much of my involvement in foam in the first place stemmed from me as a junior learner turning to foam and deriving so much value out of foam, and then wanting to then contribute back to this community that had given me so much. And I think now, as one of the leaders of CanadiEM, when I think back to my involvement at CanadiEM and being able to give back to the community, I think it really comes down to the shared values that we have at CanadiEM. So like being able to contribute to free education for junior people, being able to help participate in the mentorship and teaching of junior members, and being part of a community that's open to collaboration. So I think those are the strong values that CanadiEM shares, and hopefully helps to maintain your motivation for all the amazing and hard work that you do for CanadiEM.